Hi there, welcome back to Books and Tea with Sarah. I'm yours truly, and today I am drinking black iced tea using capital T's English breakfast tea while I bring you all the books that I read during the month of July. Now, if you subscribe to my channel, you may have noticed that I fell off a little bit in the last couple of weeks. I got really busy, and the spare time that I had I wanted to use to read instead of making videos. But now I'm back, and I'm happy to be here sharing my bookish experience with all of you. I really enjoy looking at numbers, so for the month of July, this is what I have. I finished 6 books, one of which I read half of during the month of June, and then I also started 4 other books that I have yet to finish. These books equate to 2,267 pages of physical reading, 224 of which were from a graphic novel, and 2,043 were from regular print books. I also listened to 20 hours of audiobook. My average rating for July was 3.67 stars, which makes it not the greatest month for me, but I still had some really good books that I enjoyed. So the first book that I finished during July was Anne of Green Gables by Ellen Montgomery, which I had started during the month of June. If you haven't heard of this book, which I'm a little shocked by, this is about a spirited orphan who is mistakenly adopted by a brother and sister who live together and all of the adventures that come out of this mistake. I thoroughly enjoyed this book, reliving one of my favorite childhood characters. Montgomery's writing was phenomenal, especially because it took the distinctive voice of Anne, yet remained an omniscient perspective. I had some difficulty getting into the book because in at least the first half, the chapters don't really connect very well. There isn't a plot that carries through all of them, and so they become rather episodic. But once everything does start to connect, I had no problem finishing this book quickly. I definitely recommend this book if you enjoy reading spirited and imaginative characters, and I gave this book 5 stars. I'll link my full review that I did in the description down below. The next book that I finished was Crumb Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. This is the second book in the Throne of Glass series. I don't want to give any spoilers about the second book for anyone who hasn't started the series. The series as a whole is about an 18-year-old girl, Selena, who is an assassin in a fantasy world called Irelia, where the king has conquered most of the countries there and eliminated all magic to get rid of any threats to his rule. At the end of her career, Selena is captured and sent to a labor camp where it's expected that she'll die. And it's at this point that we actually enter her story. The Crown Prince comes a year later, and he frees Selena from the labor camp in order to compete in a competition of champions for becoming the king's personal assassin. So far, I found the series to be full of action and intrigue and romance, which I really enjoy, and the second book has definitely expanded on that. While the book was entertaining for me and I tore through it, I was a little disappointed with where the story went. I felt that the author made it entirely too predictable, which kind of made the experience unenjoyable for me, but I am still excited to continue on with the series. I gave this book 4 stars, and I'll post my full review soon. Next, I picked up Geekerella by Ashley Pawson from the library. This is a modern Cinderella retelling where Elle is a huge fan of a Star Trek-esque show that has been off air for many years, and she actually writes blog posts about it. And then we also have Darian, who is the newest Hollywood heartthrob who has recently been cast as the lead in the reboot of this show. Fans are outraged by this casting, Elle included, yet she and Darian start to text without knowing who the other person is. I definitely enjoyed this story, and I appreciated how well the author was able to modernize the Cinderella story. However, I felt like the book was littered with fandom lines, which it was supposed to be, but it was too in your face. I really enjoyed it when some of those references were a bit more subtle, much in a way that if you aren't part of the fandom, you won't necessarily notice it. In addition, the book was also littered with editorial mistakes, and these mistakes really pulled me out of the story. All in all, it was a little bit of a disappointment after all the hype, so I gave this book 2.5 out of 5 stars. I will be posting a full review of it soon. The next book that I picked up was Since You've Been Gone by Morgan Matson. This book follows Emily, who has a whole summer planned with her best friend Sloane, but Sloane disappears without saying anything to Emily. A few weeks into the summer, Emily receives a letter that has to be from Sloane, and it contains a list of things for her to do this summer that will bring her out of her comfort zone. So Emily starts to work through this list, hoping that once she finishes it, Sloane will come home. I really enjoyed this book, especially seeing Emily's character growth. You really see her come out of her shell and become her own person. It was cool to watch her make new friends while she was working through the list, which was in itself something out of her comfort zone. I suppose I saw a little bit of myself in Emily being a shy person, but who is a lot more outgoing when her friends are around her, so that made the story a bit more enjoyable for me. I really appreciated the playlists. I thought they were super interesting, especially because as I was reading the story, I was like, okay, I know a lot of these songs, but it wasn't until the playlist that I realized the playlists sound like they were curated by two different people, which it was really awesome to be able to see an author be able to get out of their own headspace and into the headspace of two different characters to be able to do that. I gave this book 5 stars, and I'll be posting my review of it soon. Next, I read The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas, which is the novella bind-up of the prequels to the Throne of Glass series. So these are prequels, and Sarah J. Maas actually recommends reading them before starting the series, but I'm more of a publication order type person, and so I read them at the point that they would have been published in the series, so between the second and the third book, and I'm really glad that I read them at that point. I don't think they really gave you a good enough introduction to the world and to Selena herself. There are also a few details or Easter eggs for people who have started the series that show up in the novellas that you wouldn't pick up on or even be able to retrospectively pick up on after you start the series. I will say for this book, I call it a book because I feel like the novellas are a lot more like one full novel with a few time lapses. They don't really read like separate novellas. But this book kind of ruined Selena's character for me. I really hope it's not reflected in the third book in the series. I guess I'll just have to find out. She just felt really different from the character that I got to know from the first 2 books, and I felt like Sarah J. Maas kind of lost touch with her. I definitely didn't feel like the differences came from the fact that the books that I've read were after the labor camp, whereas these novellas were before the labor camp. I didn't think the differences were like that at all. In addition, I really wasn't into the love story. I felt like we didn't really get to know Sam at all, and then it was also revealed that they were only together for 1 month before he was killed, and I just feel like that's not practical for the type of reaction that she gave after the death. I gave this book 2.5 stars. I won't be doing a full review on it because I really don't like novellas and prequels and things like that, but you can check out a review that has some more of my thoughts on it on my Goodreads page, which I will link down below. Finally, I picked up The 100 Nights of Hero by Isabel Greenberg. This is a companion book to the Encyclopedia of Early Earth, which I read last month. This graphic novel follows 2 women who are in love, and they are hiding their relationship, which is forbidden, and they're also evading relationships with men. While this is the overarching plot, there are also several short stories that are told that are about strong women who are standing up for themselves while they're being oppressed. I definitely enjoyed this book, though it wasn't anything special to me. Unfortunately, I don't have too many more thoughts on it than that. It was a short read. I enjoyed it. I liked the art style. Nothing really stuck out to me. So I gave this book 3 stars. So that's it for all the books that I finished during the month of July. In my August TBR, I'll talk more about the books that I'm currently reading, so the ones I started in July but didn't finish. Let me know down below if you've read any of these books or if you want to read any of these books. We can start a conversation about it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more bookish content from me. I swear I will be posting more frequently now. And until next time, I will talk to you all in the comments. Bye!